life, even to the point of getting here in the very first place. I traveled across 4 or 5 cities, 4 different flights. It took me 2 entire days, 48 hours to get here, but I don't regret a thing because they want you to not come here, right? And I always make the joke, even though it's not a joke, if American workers came here, they'd start getting crazy ideas like revolution. So they don't want them to come here. So to answer your question, it was a lot of work, but it was worth every teardrop. There were many, and sweat, and it was worth it.
Well, I mean, I guess for myself, I currently live in Managua, Nicaragua. But even then, you know, I had to go from here to Ciudad de Mexico. Then I was in Miami for like almost 13 hours, and then from there I spent 19 hours in Panama, and then I finally got here. So again, it was a really, really difficult journey, but I think that more than anything, it's incredibly inspiring to be here, to really see what sovereignty looks like, to really understand the Venezuelan democratic process, and to also, I think one of the biggest takeaways for me is seeing the involvement of young people in this country within their political processes. And granted, I think that, you know, I've had the opportunity to speak to a lot of revolutionary youth, and I'll be honest, also youth that are more politically neutral, but I think that demonstrates too the conflicts that arise with the sanctions, but albeit with that involved, you know, being in Caracas, both in the city and also in the rural countryside where I was yesterday, still seeing massive amounts of political engagement, really seeing what principled politics look like, and ensuring that, you know, people are able to find creative solutions towards combating the sanctions. So if anything, I just urge people to really stop the blockade, stop the sanctions, and you know, respect Venezuela's sovereignty, their democratic processes, and really also take a lot of hope and inspiration from La Tierra de Bolivar, you know, and really seeing, you know, how people have been able to take back what is theirs, and that is always a continuous process. And so just beautiful to be here and to be wrapped with a lot of revolutionary spirit.
Anything, Carlos, Ahmed, you want to add?
Yeah, I can quickly add. So I come from Florida, right, which is kind of the headquarters of the Latin American bourgeois that end up there, either from Bolivia, Cuba, Venezuela, right? And so it's a constant daily thing, being a Floridian and being in the left, just hearing this narrative from the right. In Florida, it's very hard, right? And it's very even difficult to talk about this kind of stuff. So it's really beautiful to be able to be here, right? In Venezuela, as hard as it is to get here right now, right? Even though they used to have direct flights from Miami and Orlando to Caracas. Yeah, no, it's beautiful, it's wonderful. I'm so glad to be able to be here. Again, can't wait to get back home and make some noise about it, right? So yeah.
Well, I've been down here before, and you know, like she was saying, it's never easy coming down here, but it's always worth it. For me, I wasn't really down here for solidarity this time. It was more about watching the elections process, because, you know, we already know PSUV is the leftist party, and you know, being a leftist isn't always enough. Sometimes there's a good leftist, sometimes there's a bad leftist. So I came down here hoping to learn more about the election process and, you know, all the nonsense that we hear back home. And I could say that now with certainty, having been to a couple of polls and seeing they have technology that it's really sad that with all these sanctions they could do things that we're not doing back home. And obviously, as co-chair of the Green Party, I know what political suppression looks like. And even on the way to the polling station over here, I could see billboards of right-wing parties asking for votes. So there is no suppression at all. And you need to stick your fingerprint before you vote. You get assistance in the votes that you need. You get hand-counted ballots that have to match the machine, that are by law open to the public to watch the counting of them. So there's absolutely no way to justify what the United States is saying about you know, not having a legitimate government over here. It's complete nonsense, and I can say that with certainty now. And back home, if anyone asks, I'll say I was there.
Yeah,
I was there. I watched the whole thing. So.